Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is MOED KATAN Chaf Vav. We are on the last line, the last word, I should say, of Chaf Hey Amud Beis, last two words. Tanu Rabbanon. Ve'elu kroin she'in mesachen. The following tragic events warrant a very extensive and substantial type of kriya, a kriya which is never meant to be mended, never meant to be restored. Rather, you're meant to have a lasting effect, a lasting impression of this event. Ve'elu kroin she'in mesachen. The following tears are not meant to be restored. Hakarei al aviv al imoy, on account of parents. Val Rabbi Shalim de Torah, on account of his Rebbe who passed away. Now, the word Shalim de Torah could take on various meanings. There are some Rishonim that learn, actually it's Machlekes Tanaim, based on Gemara Bav Metzia, whether it's referring to a Rebbe who taught you most of your Torah, or even a Rebbe who taught you something. So it's a Shaila in the Gemara, Shaila how we paskin in the Halacha. Anyways, this type of event requires a significant type of kriya, a kriya which is not meant to be restored. Val Nasi, on account of a Nasi who passed away. A Nasi is either a Melech or a Rosh Sanhedrin. Val Av Bezdin, the head of the Bezdin. Val Shmuos Aros, on account of hearing about a really tragic event. The Gemara soon will tell us, Reiv Tzibur, Reiv of Yisrael, or as some Rishonim say, even Reiv of a Shevet, who were killed. Val Birchas Hashem, on account of one applying a klala, Chas Hashem, to Hashem. Val Sefer Torah Shenisraf, on account of a Sefer Torah that was burnt. Val Ora Yehuda. If you hear about the cities of Yehuda, the Yehuda territory, Yehuda Shevet in Eretz Yisrael, that was a seat of the Melucha. So on account of their desolation, Kriya is required. Val HaMikdash, likewise on account of the Churban HaMikdash. Val Yerushalayim, on account of Churban Yerushalayim, whether he hears about it for the first time or he sees it. V'karei al Migdash u'moisiv al Yerushalayim. How do you go about doing a kriya on Migdash and Yerushalayim? So they both require, they're both separate reasons for kriya. The Migdash is Kedushas HaMigdash, which stands higher, of course, than Yerushalayim itself. Then we have another reason for kriya on account of Churban Yerushalayim, the capital of Klal Yisrael. So he makes a kriya on account of the Migdash, and then he adds a bit. He expands the kriya when he takes a look at the Churban Yerushalayim. So that's the Bryce, a list of many items, many events which trigger a significant type of kriya above the norm, something which may not be mended and restored. The Gemara will explain the makar for all these chiyuvim, the fact that there is kriya on account of these events, and the fact that there is no ichuy, you don't restore it. Zok the Gemara, how do we know to apply this halacha when it comes to parents, comes to a Rebbe, d'chsiv? Elisha was observing. Eliyahu Hanavi's as sent to Shemayim, he was rising up. He was calling out, my father, Rechev Yisrael Parashav. We learn from here. And of course the pasuk says that he did kriya. So kriya followed this experience. The words Avi denote parents. Ze Avi v'imoy, a father or a mother, same thing. The words Rechev Yisrael Parashav is referring to the fact that he was his Rebbe and therefore he did kriya. So the passing of a Rebbe triggers chiyuv kriya. The Rabbi Shalim de Torah. My mashma. Where is that seen in the words Rechev Yisrael Parashav? What do we see of a reference to a Rebbe at all? Answers the Gemara, could Matargam Rav Yosef, as Rav Yosef would translate this pasuk. When he said Rechev Yisrael Parashav, he's referring to the fact that Eliyahu Navi taught him Torah. Rebbe, the Tav Lohain Yisrael. Eliyahu Navi was my Rebbe, a Rebbe who is better to Yisrael, more effective. B'tzloisei, through his tefillah, he protects them, he gives them bracha through his tefillah, midrasichin uparashin, better than chariots and horse riders. So the pasuk is referring to the Rebbe aspect of Eliyahu Navi. Apparently the passing of a Rebbe obligates kriya. What about the fact that you can't restore the kera? You can't fix it. V'loi misachan. How do you know that? Minalan. D'chsiv vayachzik bivgodov vayikroim l'shnaim kroim. As a result of this experience, he grabbed hold of his beggar and he tore it into two. Once you say, well, he tore it, of course, into two pieces. Of course. Wouldn't I already know that it's into two? Why does the pasuk have to add lishnayim kroim? Apparently it's coming to tell us that the tear has to remain as such. Elam alamid shekruim va'imdim lishnayim lo'ilam. It remains that way forever. I don't understand. Why did he do kriya? Eliyahu chayu. Eliyahu's still alive. He never really passed away. So why is kriya required? Amalei Rabbi Yechon responds, that's all relative. Kivan dichsiv v'lo oid. Elisha no longer experienced, no longer solio. Legabi didei kimeis dami. Pertaining to Elisha, it says, oh, he passed away. Although technically he didn't. Continues the Gemara. What about the other events discussed in the Bryce? Let's go down the list. Nasi, va'abezn, ushmos arois minol. How do we know kriya is required in those cases? Dichsiv vayachzik David bivgodav. When David HaMelech heard about the tremendous tragedy that occurred with Shaul HaMelech, Yehonasan, and the entire crowd who were killed out by the Plishtim, he grabbed hold of his begodim. Vayachzik David bivgodav vayikraim. He did kriya. V'gam kol ha'anoshim asher itoy vayispedu vayivku vayotzumu ado erev. They were in great distress. Why? Al Shaul val Yehonasan b'noi val am Hashem val Beis Yisrael kinofel b'chorev, because they were struck down by the Plishtim. And we learn like this: Shaul's a nasi, he was the king. Yehonasan's av bezn, and al am Hashem val Beis Yisrael elu shmos arois. The fact that he heard this terrible news that the whole tzibur was killed out. That's Shmos Arois mentioned in the Bryce, and all these events require kriya. This pasuk provides the makkah, the source for this halach. Perhaps we'll say adahavakul. Kriya is only in place when all these things happen, just as they happen together in this story. The Melech, the Abezn, and most Yisrael. What about if only one thing occurs? How would you know that Chiv Kriya is in place? Omar he responded. The pasuk says, Al Shaul, Va'al Yehonasan, Va'al Hamashem. The word Al Hifsek Inin, is separating. Each item on its own, each event on its own, requires Kriya. Asks the Gemara, Umi Kar Inan Ashmos Arois. Is that so that when we hear about a community getting destroyed, Klal Yisrael being killed, Kriya is in place? Haven't they once told Shmuel that Katal Shvar Malka, it was a king, Shvar Malka, Melech Paras, he killed out a large number of Jewish people. Treisar Alfi Yudoi, 12,000 Jews, b'mezigas Kesri, in that place, Mezigas Kesri, he didn't do Kriya in response. Answers the Gemara, Loi Amru. The Chi of Kriya is only Ela Baroiv Tzibur K'Maser Shahaya. If it involved most of the Tzibur, whether most Yisrael, Rashi says, or some of Farshim say Roiv of a Shevet, because a Shevet is called a Tzibur. Such as a story with Shaul, which prompted David HaMelech's Kriya. But here, although it was a terrible tragedy, but Kriya was not required. Ask the Gemara, Umi Katal Shvar Malka Yehudai. Is that so that Shvar Malka killed out so many Jews? Va'amli Shvar Malka Shmuel. Shvar Malka, this very king, once commented to Shmuel as follows: Teisili, I deserve lots of credit. I never once killed a Jew. And here he goes, killing 12,000. What he meant to say was, I didn't kill a Yisrael for no reason. But here, they prompted it, they instigated it, they rebelled. The Amar Abami, Lakal, to the tune, to the sound of Yiseri, the strumming, the strings, the Mezigas Kesri, coming out of the town, Mezigas Kesri, when they were rebelling against this king. So the music, the pomp, the celebration, it was so loud. Paka Shura, the Lutkia, the Chayma of the town Lutkia, burst. It was so loud and raucous. So they were rebelling, and they were they brought it upon themselves, so to speak, and therefore, sort of Shmuel Malka is is not really to blame. Or at least his claim, I never killed a Jew, is somewhat substantiated. It wasn't for no reason. Continues the Gemara. Al birchas Hashem min olam. How do we know Kriya applies when one hears a klala chas v'shalom against Hashem? So birchas Hashem is a euphemism, a bracha instead of, it was really a klala. T'chsiv vayava el yokim ben chilki asher al habayis v'shavna sefer v'yoyach ben asaf hamaskir el chizkiyo, and they were all kriyib gadim, torn clothing, because they heard the Rasha, Rav Shakeh, some say he was a Jewish fellow, some say he was a non-Jewish fellow, applying a curse chas v'shalom to Hashem, and that's why their begadim were torn. So we see Kriya applies in this case. Tanu Rabban. Echad Hashemeya, whether the fellow actually heard the Birchas Hashem, ve'echad Hashemeya mipi Hashemeya, or even if a fellow hears it secondhand, it was related to him by the fellow who actually heard Chayav the Kriya. In both cases, Kriya is in place. However, ve'edim, the actual witnesses who observed and heard the Mekal Hashem doing his thing, Einan Chayav in the Kriya, when they come to Bezdin to relate the story, they don't have to do Kriya. Why? Because initially, when they heard the Birchas Hashem, they already did Kriya. And therefore, they don't do it again. What good is that? Aren't they hearing it all over again when they themselves express it to Bezdin? That itself should require Kriya. It's like a daitach, you can't require Kriya again. The pasuk says, the pasuk which provided the source for chiv Kriya under these circumstances, the pasuk says, "Vayikra Shmaya HaMelech Chizkiyo, Vayikras B'Gadav." So when they related to Chizkiya, the Rav Shakeh was Mekal Hashem, he tore his B'Gadim. Vayikras B'Gadav, HaMelech Korah, he did it. V'hem LaKorah, but not them, even though they related it to him because they already did Kriya when they heard it the first time. Continues the Gemara. How do we know in these cases you may not restore the beged? So the kriya has to remain that way. Asher kriya. We learn it through Gzeir Shava. We have the word kriya over here, and kriya back by Elisha. And just as in that case, it's meant to remain torn here as well. Taisa says, if that's the case, then all kriyas, on account of a relative, should also have this added component. He says, Shema le mistavrele, appears that the Gemara know exactly which ones to apply to and which ones not. It would seem that this concept applies to all those listed in this brisa, which are more significant and severe events. So Chazal knew b'chachmasam that the Gzeir Shava only applies in these cases, but not to an ordinary relative where one is allowed to mend and restore the beged, except for parents in certain cases, meaning you can actually just do like a temporary stitch, as the Gemara learned earlier, but not ichoy. That's not allowed forever by parents, just as we have in this brisa. Continues the Gemara, Sefer Torah shenitzraf minol. What about a Sefer Torah that got burnt? How do we know that requires kriya? A kriya is meant to stay that way forever. So he was reading the psukim of Eicha to Yoyakim, forewarning him of the gullus that's going to befall Klal Yisrael, the Churban Beis Hamidrash. We know Eicha was written by Yirmiyahu Navi in advance, well in advance of the Churban, was written Baruch HaKodesh. So they were dictating to Yoyakim 3 psukim, 4 psukim, until he got to number 5, and he blew it. Vayikra betar, Sofi, he took the razor and he tore apart the Megillah, and he burnt it. V'hashtech ala eish asher ala ach, the fire was sitting on the fireplace. Before we get into the halacha that we learned from the pasuk, what does the pasuk mean? He read for him 3 psukim, 4 psukim. What's going on? My shalish dalsois v'arba. What are these 3, 4 psukim that were read, which did not prompt this violent response, and only pasuk 5 provoked him? Amrli leYakim. So they started reading to Yakim. You know that there's a sefer called Eicha? Kasav Yirmiyah Sefer Kinas. You know that? Amrlu, big deal. Maksive, what exactly does it have in there? So he started reading the first pasuk. Eicha Yasha Badad. Yerushalayim is going to be desolate, lonely. He said, okay, big deal. Amrlu, I'm still okay. I'm not Malka. I'm still going to remain king. Doesn't really pertain to me. Amrle, they proceeded. Pasuk number 2. Bachay Sifka Balayla. He's going to be crying there. Big deal. I'm not Malka. I'm still a king. Go Yehuda Ma'ini. I'm not Malka. Dar Ketzian Avelis, Ana Malka. So they got past the 4 psukim, he didn't really respond. And they got to pasuk number 5, which says, Hoyut Tzarel L'Roish. That the challengers, the Goyim, they're going to be on top. They're going to take over control. You're going to lose the Malchus. Now he felt threatened. Amrlu, he tells them, Man Amr, who's speaking? Who's the one saying this? They responded, Ki Hashem, Hoiga Arif She'ah. It's Hashem's expression on account of the Averis in Klal Yisrael. That set him off. Miyad Kodar Kol Askor Shabbat. Immediately he took the razor and he cut out all the mentionings of Hashem Lo Eleinu in Megillas Eicha v'Shafim Be'esh, and he burned. That's what the pasuk means. V'lo pachto, v'lo karas b'gdeim. They weren't gripped by fear, which they should have been. They didn't tear their gadim, which they should have done. Mechlal de bol mikra. Apparently, kriya was in place. Apparently, you do kriya when one burns Shem Hashem, one burns Megillas Eicha, and certainly when the Sefer Torah gets burnt. Fine. They should have done kriya. Perhaps because of the bad news that was being foretold in the Megillas Eicha, the Churban Klal Yisrael. Not because of the burning of the Megillah. How do you know what it was meant for? Abai responded, Shmuas Rois, Bahishata Mihavu. They hadn't yet experienced those tragic events. There were things way off in the future. That wouldn't require a kriya. Rather, the kriya was because of that happening, because of what happened here, the burning of the Megillah. Amar Rav Chelba, Amar Rav Huna, Haroya Sefer Torah Shenikra, and some Agaras Shenisraf. If one experiences a burnt Sefer Torah, Chayav L'Krosh Shtei Kriyas, he has to tear twice. You know why? There are 2 elements to the Sefer Torah. Achas al Akvil, one on account of the parchment, the blank parchment, which also has Kedusha. Ve'echad al Aksav, and a second Kriya on account of the content, the wording of the Torah. You know, the Ramban in Parshas Azinu says, we find that the parshas of Shira, for instance, Hazinu, Azyashe, Moshe, are written differently. A lot of spacing there. A lot of white parchment. He says, you know why? We have the words, that's the content. Then we have the white, which is a tonality, the song, the tune, the Shira. That's beyond the words. That is embedded in the white part of the Shira. So the Torah has 2 elements to it. The white and the black. The content and the background. So how do we know indeed that 2 kriyas are required? Shenemar achar yisreif ha-melech es ha-megillah v'sadvarim. So this occurred after the melech burnt the Megillah, the content, the word. That required kriya and the dvarim. Sorry, the Megillah is the parchment itself. V'sadvarim, and the content itself. So 2 separate triggers for kriya. There's a story with Rabbi Abba. Rav Huna bar Chia, Havayasru came to the Rebbe. They were sitting. Havayasru was sitting, came to the Rebbe. So what happened? Rabbi Abba boy lefnui. Rabbi Abba wanted to take care of himself, go to the Beis HaKisei. Shakli l'tatefte. So he took off his tefillin. Achse Abei Sadi, and he put it onto the mattress. Asoy bas namis. Suddenly this ostrich comes along. Bas hayana. Boy lemivle was about to swallow up his tefillin. Omar, Rabbi Abba exclaimed, "Whoa, that was close. Hashta. If this would have happened, he would have swallowed my tefillin. I would have had to make 2 kriyas. One for the parchment, one for the content." Marley, so Rav Huna responds, Menalacha, how do you know that kriya is in place under such circumstances? I had a personal story that an ostrich swallowed up my tefillin. I approached Rav Masna with the shayla. He didn't have a response. So I proceeded to Rabbi Yehuda and asked him the same question. He responded to me. Shmuel told us as follows: kriya is only required when it was done forcefully by a person. Like that story with Yoyakim burning Megillas Eicha. That's a true tragedy. It requires kriya, but if an animal just comes by and takes it away, that's not the same. Doesn't have the same level of severity, and that doesn't have a din kriya. Yehuda Minolam. If one sees the destroyed, the desolate cities of Yehuda, kriya is required. How do we know? 80 people arrived from various cities, and they were going towards the Beis Hamikdash, thinking that it was still there. Unbeknownst to them, it was already after the Churban. There was a story about, Pesach Kron says this over, way back when it was a group of Moroccan Jews that came to Eretz Yisrael, and after they arrived, they were sitting in the sky and they heard somebody mentioned about the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and they couldn't believe it. They were shocked, started crying. Really, Beis Hamikdash is no longer here? They had no idea. They were sitting in Morocco for thousands of years, always thinking that in Eretz Yisrael there was still a Beis Hamikdash. They never got the news, never heard about the Churban Beis Hamikdash. And they were just beside themselves, crying uncontrollably. Really, Beis Hamikdash was destroyed just 40, 50 years ago. Amazing Maisa. So a similar story here. They came to visit Beis Hamikdash, and actually they were expressing manifestations of Avelus, who misguided them because they saw the Rabbi Yehuda that were destroyed. They were on the way to the Beis Hamikdash. In any case, we see that Churban Rabbi Yehuda requires Kriyas Begadim. Amar Rab Chelbay, Amar Ulabira, Amar Balaz, Haraya Rabbi Yehuda b'Churbanan. What does the person say when he sees those destroyed cities of Yehuda? Aimer, Arei Kachecha Hayu Midbar, Vikareya. Look, your cities became destroyed, became deserts, and he does Kriya. When he sees Yerushalayim b'Churbanan, the desolate city of Yerushalayim, Aimer, Tzion Midbar Haisa, Yerushalayim Shmama, Vikareya, does another Kriya. Finally, Beis Hamikdash b'Churbanai. What does he say then? Aimer, Beis Kochenu, V'Sifaratenu, Asher Hilucha V'Seinu, this great Beis Hamikdash. Look what happened, and he does Kriya. Continues the Gemara. The Brisa ended with the following phrase. So although Yerushalayim requires Kriya, Beis Hamikdash requires Kriya, sometimes you can combine them. Kriya al Mikdash, B'moisav Yerushalayim. You start on account of the Mikdash, and you can actually enlarge the Kriya when you see the Churban Yerushalayim. We have a brisa which says like this: whether a person was just notified of the terrible news, Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, or if a person actually sees the Churban, he sees a destroyed Mikdash, like nowadays. Once he gets to the town called Seifim, from which you can see the Makam Mikdash, Kareya, he does Kriya. So this is referring to the second case. If he sees it from up close, that requires Kriya. The Kriya al Mikdash b'fnei atzmai, Yerushalayim b'fnei atzma. Churban HaMikdash requires its own Kriya, and Yerushalayim as well. You can't combine them. And we learned that they can be combined. That's a kasha. Answers the Gemara lo kasha. The answer is like this. Depends in what sequence he experienced these events. Depends how he traveled. Depends how he entered Yerushalayim. Ha de paga b'mikdash b'rish. The Brisa which says you start Kriya for the Mikdash and you can be Moisef when you see Yerushalayim b'Churbana, that's speaking when he encountered the Mikdash first. So Rashi says he was lowered into the Makkah Mikdash with Hashida Teva Migdal. His eyes was blocked. He was in some sort of he was in a car. He had his eyes closed, and he arrives at the Kaisel. So in that case, he needs to do a Kriya for the Mikdash. Then when he turns around and he looks at Yerushalayim b'Churbana, he adds to the Kriya of the Mikdash. He's Moisef al Yerushalayim. Ha, the Paga b'Yerushalayim b'Reish. But the second Brisa, which tells us he has to do a separate Kriya, one for Yerushalayim, one for the Mikdash, that's speaking when he was Pageh in Yerushalayim first. He first noticed the old city of Yerushalayim. Boom, Kriya right there. Then he proceeds to the Beis HaMikdash, and he sees that as well. Now you can't just add, because Churban HaMikdash is primary. That stands higher than Churban Yerushalayim. You can't just add for the Mikdash. You have to make a separate Kriya. You have to leave some material between the two Kriyas. We're going to see it on the base. Make a brand new Kriya. You can't just lengthen the tier for the Beis HaMikdash. Let's take a look at Rashi. About 12, 13 lines from the bottom. Ha de paga b'mikdash b'rish. Kigoy shenichas Yerushalayim b'shida teva migdal. He was lowered into the Makam Yerushalayim in a box. The lo yira Yerushalayim asher Beis HaMikdash. So he hadn't yet seen the Churban Yerushalayim until he first saw the Beis HaMikdash. Kareya HaMikdash. He does a Kriya right then and there. U'moisav Yerushalayim, when he turns around and sees Yerushalayim destroyed, he does a hisaf on that. because Yerushalayim is really secondary to the Mikdash. So Haysafa is enough. He doesn't have to make a brand new Kriya. By the way, the place can write that if he sees them both at once, so he enters the coastal area and he looks around, he sees everything together, right? Or he first sees the Mikdash and he turns around and sees Yerushalayim, but he hadn't yet done Kriya, and of course he could do one Kriya for both. The Gemara on base says if he has many tragedies, many relatives passed away, and he's still before Kriya, he can do one Kriya and address them all at once. Rashi apparently speaking, when he first saw the Mikdash, that's it. He does Kriya, then he noticed Yerushalayim, he's moiser for that as well. But let's say he did not enter in a box. Traveled the road. And he encountered Yerushalayim first. So stop right there. He does a separate Kriya there. Then when he proceeds to the Mikdash, he adds more. A brand new separate Kriya. That's what we do today. If you enter the old city of Yerushalayim, Rav Tikuchinsky, he writes that the old city walls are considered, experiencing Churban Yerushalayim. So if you notice that first, you do Kriya right there. And then when you pass over into the Makkah HaMikdash, some say you have to actually see the Makkah HaMikdash, but many hold that just going into the general vicinity, noticing the coastal area, that's considered Churban Beis HaMikdash. So once he sees the Beis HaMikdash Shecharav, you have to make a brand new Kriya. You have to leave 3 etzbois, 3 finger widths in between the old and new, a sheer beged, make a brand new Kriya in honor of the Churban, in honor of the Mikdash. Continues the Gemara. Ton Rabbanon, Vikulan, Rashoin, L'Shoilulan, U'Lemoilulan, U'Leloikton, L'Asoisin K'misulamis. Despite the fact that we say that all these kriyas should not be restored, the memory, the tragedy must remain fresh. There must be an everlasting impression. You can't restore it. You can't do an invisible mending job. But you can make a slight improvised fix, a stitch. A shailulan is just like a couple of stitches, not in a very organized way. Well, the moedulan is where you take the 2 edges of the tear and you sort of bend it together like a seam. Well, the loiktan is where you just do a haphazard connection between both. You just clump them together, 2 sides of the tear. It's not an organized stitching at all. And lasois and kumisuloma is Rashi learns like a ladder. So if he has the tear like this, he's going to go around, make like a side stitch going all the way up. But they're wide stitches, not like your typical neat small stitches. They're like wide stitches going back and forth, and it looks like a ladder. So these are all less than perfect jobs. That could be done, even on a kriya for avav imoy, rabbi, etc. Rashan l'shoidulan, some stitches that are like far away, or the moedulan, putting together the edges like a seam, or the loiktan, just clumping together both sides. Will make these wide stitches going from top to bottom, looks like the rungs of a ladder. But a proper restoration would be us. Rav Chizda, what are we speaking? Alexandria, like they do in Alexandria Shomitzrayim. That's what the experts were. Gemara and Yuma about the Lachem HaPanim. That's what the Umnim. That was the center of civilization at that time, and they had a special, unique method of restoring things in a way that they were totally back to normal. That you cannot do. An impression must remain. Tana Rabbanan. HaKoreya Mitecha Shalal. Suppose an Aval did Kriya, and he fixed up, he sewed it back together, not in a perfect way, a Shalal. And then he experienced another tragedy. Another family member passes away. So he did another Kriya. But he basically undid the Shalal. He tore in the same spot. So he tore apart the stitches. Does that count? No, because it's not really properly restored. It's not a piece of material. It's something that's already been pre-torn. So although it was patched together, you cannot do Kriya on that. It's not considered a proper Kriya. Because you haven't really torn apart a proper whole piece of material. but suppose it was already properly restored and then he did Kriya on that, he's Yaitse, because it's as though he tore apart a proper piece of material. Amar Chizda u'b'ichoy Alexandri, provided it was properly restored, like we mentioned before. Ton Rabban. In all these cases, we're not meant to restore the kera. Rasha lahoifche lamata. He can overturn the beged. It's a rope, and he can wear it both ways. He can turn it upside down. So now he transport the kera to the bottom, where it's not so visible. So it's like a new beged, it's like a brand new arrangement. And he can restore it on the bottom, because that's not considered the original kriya, which may not be restored. It's in a new place. It's considered unrelated to the previous kriya. No, he's not allowed to. He doesn't allow him to restore it, because it's still the same kera. Once torn, always torn, remain as such. Just as we learned, the owner of this beged may not restore his beged. So even if he sells it, the customer may not restore it. Now some of Farshim learned that we're speaking in the case of the Av Bezdin, or they say for Torah, in which case everybody has equal chiyuv. So it's not just you, the buyer as well is not allowed to fix it up, because he's also meant to warn or maintain the effect of the kriya, even though it changed hands. And as a result of this halacha, the seller has to inform the buyer, look, that tear, it's not just a damaged beged, this is the reason for it, this is what happened. This way, he doesn't restore it. This is an interesting kasha. What if he sell to a guy? Is that mutter? So he has one side, the l'chayra mutter. Some bring from Mesechas Smachos that it's aser. Interesting. There was a svar to say it's mutter because he's a guy. He has no chiyuv to maintain kriya. And apparently the other opinion would hold, no, it's a din in the beged itself. The chefts of the beged has to remain as such. Once it's been torn on occasion of its tragedy, it has to remain torn. Irrelevant of in whose hands it is, whether a yid or a guy, the beged must remain torn for all time. Interesting shaila and taisus. Okay, we speak about kriya. How large a tear does it have to be? What is the shiur? Tana Rabban, tchilas kriya tefach. So the first kriya is a tefach. V'teisefes sholish etzbois divrei meir. But let's say he had another tragedy. Another relative passes away, and he'd like to add to that tear. So instead of making a new one, he's just going to enlarge it. You don't need to make it a tefach long. Even 3 etzbois is okay. It sort of relates back to the original tear. It's enough. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, tchilas kriya shalosh etzbois. The initial tear, 3 etzbois wide. V'teisefes kolshu, and when he's trying to add on account of another tragedy, he can just add a bit. That's enough, because it already has substance, or it has chashivas on account of the original tear. So what is that? When it comes to the initial kriya, we follow Rav Meir. A tefach is required. We have back on that chaf, I think. Actually, that chaf base. So that's the halacha l'maisa. A tefach has to be like a shir achiza, like a fistful. And halacha Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, when it comes to adding on account of a second tragedy, we follow Rabbi Yehuda. Even a tesefes is sufficient. Tanya nami hochio, the same in a brisa. Rabbi Yossi Omer tchilas kriya tefach. Initially it's a tefach. Tesefes. The addition is kolshu. Tana Rabban. Omer lo meisav. Suppose this fellow suffered tragedy lo'ilenu after tragedy. First his father passed away. V'kara immediately did kriya. Okay, he did a tefach, and then he found out meis benoi, his son passed away. V'hoisif, and he enlarged the kera. He lengthened it. He tore a bit more on account of misas benoi. So now he has 2 elements in the tear. The top part is on account of the av. That one may not be restored, but the addition on account of the ben may be restored. That's the halacha. Tachton misacha, the lower portion can be restored. Elyon in misacha, but not the upper portion, which was on account of parents. What about the other way around? First he heard about a son, meis benai, v'kara, he did kriya. And then he heard about meis aviv, v'hoisav, he added to it. So Elyon misacha, the upper portion can be restored because that was on account of a son. So after shloishim, you can restore it. Tachta in misacha, but the bottom portion, which was the kriya on account of the father, cannot be restored. So you'll ask, what's the chiddush? Isn't this the same case, just in the reverse? Says the Ritva, there is a chiddush here. Says the Ritva, in the second case, there's an additional chiddush over the first case. The top portion was for the ben. The bottom portion, the addition, was on account of the av. Now, although it's just a drop, just a little hisafa. So as explained earlier, the hisafa relates to the original tear as well. It's just he rides on his back, so to speak. Once you have a tear, you can just add a little bit, and the entire thing relates to both. Oh, so perhaps you would say that the upper portion has now been relabeled, retagged, and now identifies with the father as well. So it was Meis B'nai V'Kara, Meis Avav, and he added. And now the entire Kara can relate to both. Has dual identity, and perhaps the entire portion, even the upper portion, relates to the father as well and cannot be restored in the Chiddush as it could. Fact is, the Kriya, the Master Kriya, was for the son. So although the addition, on account of the father, certainly rides on top of the upper one, so to speak, it sort of relates to the upper one as well. But it was done primarily for the son. It doesn't have a din of Eine Masach. Continues the price. Let's say this fellow suffered multiple tragedies at once. Meis Aviv, Meis Imai, Meis Achiv, Meis Achoisai. What does he do now? Kriya Kere Echad Kulan. One Kriya is enough for all. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he disagrees. He says like this: Al Kulan Kere Echad. When it comes to other relatives, one is enough. One size fits all. But parents, that's different. That needs a special, unique, designated kera. Al Aviv al Imai Kere Echad. For parents, you need a separate kera. Fishem Mesifin al Kera Aviv Imai. One may not add to the kera of parents. Basically, what he's saying is, I disagree with this halacha. You can add to the kera of the parents. The kera of parents needs to be unique, separate, distinguished, and distinct. My time and why is that? Okay, so I understand that if you already have kera for parents, you can't add for another relative. What about the other way around? If you did kera for another relative, why can't I just add for the father? When it comes to parents, there's no addition. You can't add them to others. You can't add others to them. You want to show that parents are chashiv. So on account of kavod avav ve'imoi, a separate kriya is required. Amar Shmuel, that's how we paskin. Halacha, that parents need a separate kriya. Really? Umi Amar Shmuel hachi. V'Amar Shmuel, didn't Shmuel himself tell us, whenever we have a machlekes, when it comes to avelos, halacha k'divrei mekel ba'avel. We follow the lenient shita. Why is he being machmer? A separate kriya for parents? Why? Answers the Gemara. Ba'avel. That's what he said. Avelos l'chud kriya l'chud. When it comes to halachas of mourning, l'kula. But kriya is different. Now, why would it be different? The Ramban learns, why is it halacha come divrei mekel ba'avel? Why are we make it when it comes to avelos? You would think perhaps it's the Rabbana, but the truth is that Tosfos in Erevin says that even by Yom HaRishon, which is perhaps midaraisa, this concept applies. This formula of halacha divrei mekel applies. So why then? The Ramban says maybe the pshat is that when it comes to emotional experiences, such as sadness, people resist sadness. People want to be happy and content. They may find it difficult, says the Ramban, to commit to sadness, to avelos, when there's a shita that's mekel. Look, why am I doing that? I could follow the shita that's mekel. So if it's a maasa, do, don't do, it's just a practical thing, you can do it, or don't do it. But when it's emotions, when it comes to experiencing avelos, it has to be a full commitment, a full emotional immersion. If there's any reason to doubt the basis for the avelos, there is a shita that's mekel, it's hard to commit himself to it. And therefore says the Ramban, halacha k'divrei mekel, we take the lenient route. Oh, but that only when it comes to avelos, which is an expression of an emotional mourning, but when it comes to a masa, kriya, that concept doesn't apply, it's just a masa. And therefore, when it comes to kriya, we can allow ourselves to be machmer. Interesting pshat. Okay, so we learned that if he did a kriya for Mace 1, and then Mace 2 comes around, he can just add. Until what point? How long can that kriya be? Adhechan kriya. Atibura, until his navel. That's the stop sign. That's the bottom of the kriya, because kriya is an expression of heartfelt mourning, it's connected to emotions, to heart, it has to be in the heart area. Otherwise it doesn't count. According to the Yesh literally, up to his heart, because once it's past that point, it's unconnected to the heart. Although we don't have an absolute proof that's connected to Lev, we have some sort of hint. Don't just tear your begadim. Tear your hearts as well. That's the ikar. Tearing the begadim is meant to be an expression of kriyas halev. There's a connection between kriya and the heart. Higila tabura. Suppose he reached the bottom, the deadline. He got all the way to tiburoi, and now he experienced another tragedy. What does he do now? He has to make a separate kriya. Marchik sholosh etzbois v'kareya. He has to distance himself from the original kara. He has to leave his shear of 3 etzbois of material, which is sheer beged, and start fresh. Suppose this fellow suffered so many avelos, so many kriyas, and the entire beged in front of him is full of tears, full of crime. He's allowed to flip it around. The torn portion is in the back, and the front is now untorn, and do the kriya there. Suppose the top area of the beged around his heart is full of crime. He can go flip it around so that the crime go to the bottom, and the whole portion of the beged is now on top, which allows him kriya. In fact, if he does kriya on the bottom, on the side of the beged, not near his heart, is not yet. Ella, we have one exception. Shekayin Gadol, he's not allowed to do conventional kriya. When he experiences a maze, he tears on the bottom. And Farshim say it's not the conventional kriya for Avelis, rather it's to bring agmas nefesh, an expression of anguish, but typically kriya must be neged the heart. Now, an interesting machlek is coming up. Pligaba Rav Masna Umar Ukva. So these Amoraim had a machlek amongst themselves regarding what the other Amoraim said. They're both discussing Mishmei regarding the accurate quote in the name of the Avua de Shmuel V'Levi regarding the following halacha. Chadama, one of these Amoraim maintained, this is the way halacha was presented. Called Shiva Korea. When a person is in the middle of Shiva and he experiences another Avelis, another relative passed away, he can't just go ahead and enlarge that Kriya, because it may appear like he's just adding, he's just expressing more anguish, more tsar, on account of the first mace. La'achar Shiva Moisef. So during Shiva, he has to be Kriya, he has to make a fresh Kriya for the second mace. So it's apparent that it relates to him. But La'achar Shiva, after Shiva, he's finished the Avelis. Another mace comes this way. Moisef, you can just add to the original Kriya, because now he's already somewhat detached from the Avelis. And even adding to the original Kera, it doesn't necessarily appear like it relates to the original mace. It's a fresh new experience and applies to the second mace. So Shiva is the breaking point. V'chad amar kol shloishim. No, shloishim is the criterion. Until shloishim, until while he's still in Avelis, somewhat of Avelis, Korea. If he experiences another Misa, he has to make a fresh Kriya. He can't just add to the old one, because it relates to the old mace. But if he's past Shloishim, and a new mace comes along, he can just go back to the old Kriya and add a bit. Because it's already after the period of Avelis, in which case he's not anymore immersed in the Avelis of the first mace. And the fact that he starts another Kriya, now, even though it's just enlarging the old one, it relates to the new mace. Maskiv Rav Zir had a kash on this. He telling me it's Tolin Shiva, Tolin Shloishim, Avakash. Maskiv Rav Zir. Man do Amar Kol Shiva Korea. Let's address the first shita. Shiva is a criterion. Within Shiva, has to make a fresh tear for the second mace. Why is that? I'm assuming because up until the end of the Shiva, one may not even patch up the tear. In which case, if he just goes back to it and tears further, he didn't really do anything. Looks like he's just enlarging the original Kera for the first mace. And it can't be Mekayim Kriya for the second mace in this manner. But after Shiva, where it's already patched up, so now, if he goes back and he's Moisef, right? He goes back to the patch and he rips it apart and he's moist a bit, that Isafa connects to the original kera. Now he has a new kera for the second mace. If that's the case, it's totally whether or not it's patched up. Didn't we learn that when it comes to a woman, we patch it up right away? Machmas tznius, machmas kavod. So if Shaila is the determinant factor, hachanami. So you're going to tell me in that case, even within the Shiva period, she can take that kera and enlarge it for the second mace because it's already been patched up. So it's been disconnected, so to speak, on the first mace, and now you can use it for the second mace. Is that so? It didn't seem that way from your halacha. You didn't differentiate between men and women. And says the Gemara, you're right. There's no chiluk. You know why? It's not really been patched up properly. Avelus requires an unpatched tear. Hasam Hashem kavod isha. The kavod isha override the kavod factor stands higher, but really, halachically speaking, it's as though it's an open tear, an open gash. In which case, it still relates to the first mace. It's still fresh. It's still current. And just adding a bit for the second mace doesn't do much, because it all relates back to the first mace. He had another kasha on the other sheet, the one that says if you're within shloshim, within that avelus period, and a new mace comes along, you have to make a fresh kriya. You can't just enlarge the original, because it still relates back to the first mace. Amai, why? Apparently, because until shloshim is up, you can't restore it. You can patch it up, but not restore it. So as long as it's not restored, it's considered still to be torn. We look at it like it's still torn, and it relates to the first mace and can't be redesignated for the second mace. If that's the case, elamiata. What about parents? We just learned in Amar Alf. They may not be restored forever. You can tell me in that case, a year after the fact, it's still not properly restored. It still relates to the parents, in which case, if another mace comes his way, it can't be moisif. You're going to differentiate between parents and other krovim? He says no. Hasam covered aviv v'imayhu. On account of the avelus experience, there's no chiyuv to keep it unrestored. Once its shleishim is over, you can restore a kera. But keep it of the aim is what's at play here. That element of covet requires keeping it as is and refraining from restoration. So since the avelus of the parents are not machayiv, the avelus aspect is not what's holding you back from restoring, just the kibbutz of aim. Right, to keep it this ongoing, long-lasting display. But the avelus has already dissipated. In which case, you can go ahead and take that kera and re-tear it for the new mace, because it's already been disconnected from the original avelus. It's already past the avelus, past the shloshim. So even though the halacha requires leaving it unrestored, but it's not because he's still experiencing avelus. It's because of kibbutz aveim. As far as avelus is concerned, it's over, and therefore you can take that same kera and just rip it a bit more, use the entire thing, redesignate, redirect it to the second mace. If one should go out wearing a torn beged, and a damaged beged, puts it on the cover of the levai to present as though he was being kareah for the mace. That's genevas das, inappropriate. He's robbing the mace, and the survivors around him will think that, look, this fellow is really empathizing in our plight. If one approaches his friend, he says, can I have your shirt? I want to go visit my father in the hospital. He's very sick. He borrows the shirt, gets over there, and he finds out his father passed away. He can do kriya, but then he has to restore it. although typically you don't restore by kriya of parents, but it's not his shirt, so he has to do that. When it comes back home, he returns the beged, and he pays them for the damage. But if you didn't tell him where he's going, can I just borrow your shirt? Without telling him he's going to visit an ill father, the fellow's not expecting it. You can't just tear the other fellow's shirt. You can't do anything to the other fellow's shirt. An ill person. His relative passed away. We don't inform him that the fellow passed away. Shema to of died to all of concern that perhaps he'll be overwhelmed, and it's going to hurt him even more. Nor do we do kriya in his presence. We don't want to shock. We don't want to tell him the bad news. His situation might deteriorate as a result. So we protect him. We ask the women to tone down, not to express their anguish in front of him. Another halacha is that if a katan's relative passes away, he's not obligated in kriya. We do kriya for him, but just that the adults get aroused to the avelis. One more halacha, in the presence of one's wife. He should participate in honor of his wife and do kriya on account of his in-laws passing. We learned in this brisa, an avel should refrain from holding a child, holding a toddler, because it can bring him to frivolity and laughter. It make a bad impression to the observers. They'll think, well, look, he's engaged in simcha and schleik. I'll realize he's just trying to take care of the kid, but it's not going to give that good impression. It's not going to be covered hameis. Refrain from doing that. So there was a Sudas Havra, the first day of the Avelis. He wouldn't eat his own food. Others prepared food for him. And they would overturn the beds during the Achila of that Suda. So the Sudas Havra was for the Avelim and anybody that joined them. So this fellow goes to the Beis Aval and they're engaged in the Sudas Havra. So he joins the meal. But in what manner? Does he overturn his bed as well? They say sit on bed. Does he overturn his bed as well? It depends how close he is to the Avelim. If he was really personally close to the Avelim, so he has to join in their posture. So his portion, his participation in this Sudas Havra takes place on an overturned bed as well. Even though he's not an Aval, but he's close to them, so he participates. But if he's just a visitor and doesn't really have much emotional closeness with them, don't overdo it. Don't show that you're closer than you really are. Yavru al mites kufos. He eats using an upright bed. Rava is Shabbai Milsa. Rava experienced a tragedy. Ola Gabe, who came to visit, Abba Bar Marta, who also had a different name, Abba Bar Menumi, who wasn't so close to Rava. When it came meal time, he was joining the meal, and Rava Zakif. So Rava turned the visitor's bed upright. Abba Bar Marta Kafi, the visitor Abba, he overturned his bed to join them in their posture. Rava responded, Omar, kama lespe data. Look how little das there is like Tzurm Rabbanon in this Talmud Chacham. In this, what's he doing? He's trying to be closer than he really is. He doesn't realize that we're not that close, and he shouldn't. Don't overdo it. You could sit in an upright bed. Don't overdo it. Okay, so what did we learn today? We had a full list of various situations that require kriya and substantial kriyas. Kriya and shem esachan meant to be restored. Parents, a rebbe, nasi, av bezin. Tragedy to most of Klal Yisrael is Sefer Torah Nisraf. We do two kriyas, one on account of the parchment, one on account of the content. Churban Yehuda, Ari Yehuda, Yerushalayim, and the Mikdash. We say ein masachan, which means that proper restoration is not allowed. If one just has a patched up kriya and he does kriya out of that for a new maze, that doesn't work because it's not a proper material that allows that. In which case it's not considered kriya because he's just ripping apart something patched up. But if it was properly restored and then he goes and rips it apart, that counts as a kriya. When you sell a beggar that has a kriya that may not be restored, you have to inform the customer. What is the shia kriya? Initially it's a tefach. When there's a hisaf on account of new mace, even a mashu, that is the halach. You can do one kriya on account of older mason regarding parents being supplemental, being combined to other crime, that's a machlekes. How far down can kriya take place on account of many avelim, haisaf and hasafa, all the way down? One shita says tiburay, one shita says liboy, because kriya is connected to lei v'kiru levavchem al b'gdeichem during the Shiva period, and some say during the Shleshim period, if there's a new reason for Kriya, it has to be a fresh Kriya. It can't be a Isafa on the existing Kriya, which still pertains to the previous tragedy. But if it's later on, then you could just take that Kriya and add to it, and that will be now directed to the second mace. You can only do Kriya on one's personal beged, rather than a borrowed beged, unless he told him, look, he's going to visit his father, in which case his friend perhaps took that into account as well. One should be careful to be honest when it comes to expression of Avelus in front of Avelim. We do Kriya to a Katan, V'pnei Agmas Nefesh, an Avel has to be careful to refrain from Schaik, don't get engaged in playing with children. And the Sudas Havra is done on Mita Kfuya regarding the Avel himself, and regarding the Acherim, the others who came visit. If they're emotionally close, Libay Gaspoi, then he joins them in that manner as well. All the best to you, and much, much Hatzlacha.